Hatsune Miku is arguably one of the most recognizable icons of pretty much all time. Even if you're not a Vocaloid fan or even know Miku's name, you've seen her face at least a decent number of times in your life. I can't say I'm a super fan of Vocaloid, but I do have my basic-ass favorites like World Is Mine, Miku, Magical Cure, and Sakura Biori. That last one is probably my favorite because I am a very avid Otto fan by comparison. But one thing I have always wanted was for Miku to have her own animated avenue, because outside of her cameo in Shinkalion and her very funny minor role in Dropkick on My Devil Season 3, she's never had her own movie or series all to herself, which was why I was really excited for a Miku Who Can't Sing. Especially because the title alone brought out very interesting implications about this Miku specifically. Though it also isn't just a Miku movie, it is a movie based on the Project Sekai mobile game, and I was a little less excited, but still optimistic. So how did it turn out? Well, there is a lot on my mind, but let's get through my general thoughts first beforehand. To give a quick rundown of Project Sekai's basic setup, at least from my understanding as someone outside the fanbase, Sekai are worlds created by the game characters' specific intense feelings, accompanied by their own Vocaloid guides with specific designs. A Miku Who Can't Sing stars a Miku who, can't sing, but there's more to that. This Miku Sekai is largely empty and void, created by the feelings of people who are on the brink of giving up on their hopes and dreams. Small wonder then that Miku-san can't reach them because of how hopeless they are to the point where they won't listen to reason. So Miku goes on a journey to perfect her song and inspire people, conversing with the 5 units from Project Sekai on how they make music and what feelings they try to convey. In general, I like this movie. Miku's journey is compelling. I'm sure this isn't too surprising to fans who are way too deep into Vocaloid. I mean, I very recently experienced the iceberg levels of dark Vocaloid songs, so maybe this isn't anything new, but to the general public, I feel like this is a side of Miku nobody thought they would ever see. Even in the more dramatic and even hopeless songs, Miku smiles through those songs, and if she isn't, she still gets across the intent behind her songs. This Miku is a version that can't get across her intentions no matter how hard she tries, which makes for some truly moving sequences at certain points and a pretty devastating moment right before the final act. The titular song she sings is beautiful, even though the first verse of it gets repeated like 17 times. This is admittedly a really hokey film. If you're not too into Project Sekai or Miku, you might have a slightly hollow experience with this. But hearing the unfinished song over and over does make the final performance truly incredible, with spectacular animation, fantastic choreography, and a level of energy that perfectly captures exactly why Miku is the untouchable cultural icon she is. I connected with the parts with Miku immensely as an artist, but again, this is also a Project Sekai film, and the other 20 characters, good lord, are fine. They are serviceable and have decently memorable personality traits. I watched the Journey to Bloom videos that were really basic summaries of each unit's routes, so that's probably not the best way to get attached to these characters and go into the movie, but it is how I went in and I still liked them. I think the idol group was the only one that actually bored me, which makes some amount of sense since my friend who is a Project Sekai fan said that they are also their least favorite. The rock and rap groups are fun, but my personal favorites are Wonder Show and 25 Night Court, the former being the funniest with endearing and lovable Skrunklos, and the latter being very broody but also tight-knit like they're the only people in the world who understand each other. A very found family type of friend group. These characters are fine in the movie, but for the most part they're kind of wet blankets, and that is what really bothers me about this movie, and part of why I even bothered to make this video in the first place. There will be minor spoilers, so tread lightly. Prior to the Miku movie, I didn't know if this was a prequel, a sequel, or a short adaptation of a part of the Project Sekai game. That last part, now I know, is pretty silly. Only right before sitting down and watching the damn thing did I learn that this is actually a short side story that takes place sometime during the story of the game without having any real consequences for it. In essence, it's like an anime filler movie without having an actual anime to serve the role as filler for, which sets off a bunch of alarms in my head. Because Project Sekai is not a simple 13-episode anime, well, at least not yet. It is a large and complicated web of 5 different stories layered with so much character and emotion and devastating sequences and themes. The Miku movie may be a cakewalk for fans, but for those who aren't fans of the game, they can't just watch an anime and then the movie based on the anime after. They have to download a game, play through the routes, get all the events, and then watch the movie, which is asking your average moviegoer a lot. Yes, you can technically say this is a movie made specifically for Project Sekai fans, but considering how most of the movie's marketing really hones in on the titular Miku who can't sing, it's safe to say it's actively reaching for the attention of at least the Vocaloid fans who don't already know about Project Sekai. And if we compare this to other filler-type movies, there is an issue lurking under the surface. There are many examples of filler-type movies I can think of, like any of the My Hero movies, Spy X Family Code White, No Nonbiori Vacation, and if we want to count direct continuations that technically don't require knowledge of previous media, Rise of TMNT and Steven Universe. Unlike the My Hero movies and Steven Universe the movie, where you're sort of meant to know the story going in, the Miku movie revolves around a character not from the game, meaning you technically don't need to already be a fan of Project Sekai to watch this, but also, unlike Code White, Rise, and Vacation, where regardless if you've seen the series, its main concern is characterization in favor of people who haven't seen their respective shows, the 20 Project Sekai characters are pretty shallow in this movie, meaning it's assumed you're already a fan of the game. Do you see the problem here? And all of this leads into the main issue I have with this movie. It does a bad job at communicating to general audiences why fans fell in love with these characters in the first place. Because when non-fans say they're wet blankets in the movie, that's true. That's all they are. Wet blankets. These interesting characters who have a mass amount of dialogue and personality and emotional damage in the original game are reduced to characters who exist to further the plot along. And I can attest this because the Animation Discord server I'm a part of recently discussed this, citing that these characters felt like mere plot devices without knowing the history these characters have in the game, which is reflective of this movie's interest in these characters. My friend's favorite character is Akito, the orange-haired guy from the rap group. Why is he their favorite? I don't know, because the movie won't fucking tell me. In the 3 seconds that Mafuyu's mom showed up on screen, did it ever occur to casual viewers that she is actually one of the most abusive and evil parents in all of fiction? No? Well, I wouldn't blame them because the movie doesn't seem to care. Even though Mafuyu is the one who needs to write the lyrics for 25 Night Court Son, it's still not explained in the movie why she is the way she is. But if you played the game, you wouldn't need it explained to you. But then again, this is an advertisement of the game to people who don't already play it, which it still fails at doing because, again, it's not properly showing you why people love these characters, and it's just, I don't understand. And I'm not saying you have to adapt all these complicated character stories in a 90-minute movie. That'd be ridiculous. You'd need like at least 24 episodes. You would have to give it the Q treatment. But I am saying you need to do something to get newcomers to fall in love with these characters, which this movie just doesn't. And what infuriates me the most is that it didn't have to be this way. If you didn't have the time to show why these 20 characters are so loved, then newsflash, you didn't need all 20 of those characters, especially in a movie centered around one character that isn't a part of those 20. Miku didn't need to converse with every group. All you really needed for this to skyrocket is the Leonid members for having the most believable bond with Miku, and maybe Mafuyu and Kanade due to their thematic connection to the feelings of Miku's Sekai. That's it! 6 out of the 20 characters were really all that it would take to iron this wrinkle out. Because really, why does Miku need to repeat what her problem is 5 separate times? Why does the same conversation have to happen over and over again from beginning to end just so we can move to the next plot point? Why do the 5 units say basically the same thing, the same life lesson in the final act with almost zero variation? I feel like making this story specific to the growth of one group would make this so much easier to follow. Or better yet, have this be a bonus crossover route in the game a la last story segment in a Sonic game, but then again, you wouldn't get your commercial in a theater, now would you? And that is where I stop the rant and realize I'm being very whiny, cynical, and above all, unfair. especially as someone who is really new to the game. Because I know how culturally significant this is. I mean, Miku finally got her own movie. And this is more about Miku and less about the Project Sekai characters, which I know I can just look up cutscenes at any time to experience more of them. And even if the cast were to get cut down, that would mean removing the final 5 performances, which were all around fantastic. The choreography of the rap dancers were excellent. I love the wacky, loony energy of the theater fanatics. The idol group does their idol shtick like always. The indie online band was incredibly unique and had a ton of visual flares. And the rock band was so hype and so much fun. The songs are bops, the visuals are dazzling, the lyrics are trying their best. And yeah, the main theme song and its final concert after the credits did make the movie-going experience worth it. I still really like the movie for all of the other reasons, especially since this is probably the most interesting the character of Miku has ever been. It's just this one hang-up that is technically a really minor and inconsequential nitpick that, due to my fascination with the nature of adaptations, really bothers me. But at the end of the day, if this movie's job is to introduce newcomers to a story with a colorful cast of characters that they can watch at their own leisure anytime, then it does its job very well, because I do want to binge every piece of Project Sekai media now. I'm especially really interested in the story of 25 Night Court, which I imagine will destroy me emotionally, so I will also watch Wonder Show's story as a palate cleanser. In conclusion, the Miku movie is pretty good. It does exactly what it wants to do with this version of Miku, making her an incredibly interesting character to follow. The visuals are pretty, with the dance numbers being incredible highlights. The songs are spectacular, the emotion is heartwarming, even if it's a little hokey. But the fact that this is tied to 20 side characters, that the movie doesn't have the time or interest to illustrate why fans love them, really holds this back from being legitimately great. But it does serve its purpose as a commercial for the game, or at least promotional material for the cutscenes. Generally, it's satisfied pretty much all of the fans, and as a standalone story, it's a lot of fun and very compelling. Even through my many mixed feelings, alongside some admittedly unfair judgments, I did have a lot of fun and was moved by some of it. It's a really good movie. 6 out of 10. So what did you think of the Miku movie? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and I will try to get the Liz analysis out to the best of my ability.